So Super Bowl 55 in the 2020 NFL season that some people thought would never get complete is now over. And congrats to the Buccaneers, a team that a lot of people did not think would even make the playoffs. A lot of people thought they'd be frauds, not even get to 8-9 wins. They went out there, they won 11. They just went through the playoffs relatively easily. They beat the Saints pretty easily. The Packers game, close. I mean, Matt LaFleur made some bad decisions there, and of course the Super Bowl was pretty easy, and even back to Washington in the wild card round, that game was somewhat close, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had control for most of it. So Tom Brady, we have to address that, of course. The guy, as I've said before, if you don't think he's the greatest of all time right now, there's nothing more you can do. You're probably just a Tom Brady hater. But the thing that I like about this is that you can no longer use the excuse, well, he was carried by Belichick and his system. Well, now he's not with Belichick. He went to the Buccaneers, who, yes, are a loaded roster. I get that. He went to the right team. He knew what he was doing. But went to Tampa Bay and won a Super Bowl in his first year. Not easy to do, and he went out there and did it against a very talented Kansas City Chiefs team. So let's get into the game, and we'll talk about Todd Bowles and what he did on defense. He was probably the real MVP in this game to hold this Chiefs offense to 9 points. Now, we have to use context here. The Chiefs were without 3 offensive linemen that were starters, and Kelechi Osemele, Eric Fisher, the left tackle, and Mitchell Schwartz, who's been like an all-pro right tackle for like a few years. I feel like he's awesome. So they were all out in this game, and they were just basically relying on these backup offensive tackles to contain guys like Jason Pierre-Paul and Shaq Barrett, and on the inside, Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh. They had so many great players on this Bucs defense. I think they were the better roster up and down. I was saying that, of course, before the Super Bowl. I think we all knew that. But people wanted to just hang on to the hope that Patrick Mahomes is the best player on the planet, and they had the 2 weapons in Hill and Kelsey. Now, Kelsey had a good game in this one. He wasn't dominant, but it was a good game. But for Tyreek Hill, and we'll get into this, the defensive scheme, they didn't allow Tyreek Hill to beat them. Tyreek Hill had that one play where he should have caught the ball. I think it hit off his face mask, and Murphy Bunting was in coverage, I think it was. So really, outside of that one play, they didn't really let Tyreek Hill beat them. Even on that play, he dropped it. So they had I feel like they were putting safeties back the whole time. It was a lot of we'll give you the underneath stuff. They were not giving the Chiefs anything deep. And that's kind of the way you got to do it. You got to let the Chiefs kind of chip away. The Chiefs don't like to run the ball. If we know Andy Reid from this year especially, he does not like to run the ball. They had Darrell Williams in the first half a decent amount, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and the Chiefs came out in the third quarter trying to run the ball, but they didn't stick with it. And as I said before the game, if you watched our spread pick'em show for the Super Bowl, we went over the team stats and the team rankings, and the Buccaneers had the number 1 rush defense. So it's not easy to run the Buccaneers. They're a very, very good run defense, and the Chiefs probably knew that coming into this game, and Andy Reid probably said to himself, I'm going to try and exploit this secondary that has a lot of young players like Carlton Davis, Antoine Winfield, Jamil Dean. They're all very young guys. I feel like they're 25 and younger, all of them. So they're a young secondary, but they answered the bell. They really did everything possible in this game, did not let up any big plays. Sure, Travis Kelce had a couple of nice catches in there for 25, 30 yards a couple times. I don't think Tyreek Hill had that big of a play. Tyreek Hill had that one key catch on when the ball was on the 1 yard line of KC to get them out of that terrible end zone situation. But Tyreek Hill was not a game changer like he was when they played in the regular season, and Tyreek Hill nearly had 300 yards against them. So it was not anything like that. They learned from their previous mistakes, and you know what? It definitely helped the Buccaneers that they played the Chiefs during the regular season. I feel like they learned from their mistakes. They did not let it happen again, and credit to them. Todd Bowles did a great job. Byron Leftwich, Bruce Arians, the entire coaching staff for the Buccaneers completely outcoached the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think you can deny that. I think it's definitely a fact at this point. So, yeah, the Chiefs had the bad offensive line, and Patrick Mahomes was running for his life. He was trying to literally make throws when he was parallel to the ground. He just threw this sidearm pass and somehow threw it 30 yards. I don't know how he did it. There was that play to Byron Pringle where I thought he made the most insane catch in Super Bowl history, where he caught the ball with one hand, it hit the pylon. But that didn't happen. But Patrick Mahomes was just under duress the entire game. It didn't seem like there was many clean pockets, and the Chiefs really did not do many play actions. I feel like they just kind of went out in this game and said, yeah, we're not going to care about the run. We're not even going to try and disguise the run. They're going to go out there and try and pass the ball as many times as possible. And whether that was their game plan or the scoreboard dictating that they had to pass more, being down by so many points, they ended up passing the ball a lot. I don't have Patrick Mahomes' pass attempts off the top of my head, but he had to pass the ball at least 50 times. So, yeah, the Buccaneers offense, they were just looking good the entire game. I feel like Tom Brady played a flawless game outside of literally the first drive, and I think there might have been a play later I'll go over, but the first drive, it was a 3-and-out, and they had Chris Godwin on an out route on the left side. It hit off Godwin's like right hand, and that was a 3-and-out. But of course, after that, it just seemed like everything for the Buccaneers offense was awesome, including Leonard Fournette, who was really good in the playoffs. Then all of a sudden has this great Super Bowl performance. So Tom Brady was awesome. Like, I have to give him a lot of credit. The offensive line was just as good, and the receivers, and Chris Godwin had some drops in the playoffs and things like that. Mike Evans was drawing pass interferences. Rob Gronkowski was awesome. Antonio Brown caught a touchdown. And I said this before on Twitter. It's funny because I feel like the 4 guys on offense that really contributed for the Buccaneers were all called washed, or just past their prime at one point. Guys like Tom Brady has been called washed for the past half decade now. Rob Gronkowski was called washed many times. Antonio Brown was called washed. Leonard Fournette was cut at one point before the season started, so I'm sure he was called washed by some people. So to see all those guys contribute to a Super Bowl victory, it's pretty cool to see. So don't count anybody out, especially Tom Brady of all people. So yeah, look, as I said, this game was it was over by like the mid-third quarter. I feel like once Leonard Fournette ran in that touchdown to make it, I forget what the score was, maybe 28-6 or 28-9. I wish the score was 28-3. I was saying that it would have been funny if Tom Brady blew a 28-3 lead, but that's definitely not going to happen with the offensive line issues the Chiefs had. But still, I feel like the future for the Chiefs, it's going to be fine. Like, don't worry about it. They'll learn from this experience, and I'm sure Patrick Mahomes will go back and watch this film and get better from it. But if you're a Buccaneers fan, Tom Brady's back next year. I think Mike Evans said he's willing to take a pay cut, which is exciting because they have some key free agents like Levante David and Shaq Barrett and even Chris Godwin. So they have guys they have to pay this year, the Buccaneers, who are key contributors for that team. So we'll find out what they do. But I feel like the future for both of these teams is very bright. I would not say this is like a definite one and done type situation for these teams. The Buccaneers have drafted amazing the past few years. Even this year, their picks, Tristan Wirfs and Antoine Winfield, even Tyler Johnson drew the key pass interference in the NFC Championship game. Like, they've had so many good draft picks over the years. Their young secondary has been very recent. So I give the Buccaneers a lot of credit, and their GM, I forget the guy's name, but they did an awesome job building that team over there. And look, for the Chiefs, they have their flaws. I think we know their defense is not perfect. We knew based on the injuries that the offensive line was going to be a problem. I don't think the Chiefs' offensive line is bad in general. I feel like once they get Fisher and Schwartz back, and maybe Osemele, who I think was on a 1-year deal, we'll find out what his status is, going into free agency. But for Eric Fisher, maybe he's out for half of next year or the whole season. They might have to replace him, so we'll find out about that. But I think the most impressive part of this game, you would have to say, is probably the defensive unit for the Buccaneers. I feel like, I'm happy for Todd Bowles being from New Jersey. I've heard a lot of people call into talk radio just talking bad about Todd Bowles, how he was a crappy head coach, and I get it. He was not really head coach material, but the guy had an awesome game plan for this Chiefs offense. Like, he knew what to do, and like a lot of times, it was mostly just rushing forward and dropping a lot of guys back in coverage because Todd Bowles was smart enough to know, like, hey, there's a lot of backup offensive linemen in for the Chiefs. We can rush our 4 guys and still get pressure. Like, they did blitz sometimes, and they had a lot of exotic blitz packages. Like, there was one play where they sent 2 cornerbacks in from like the blind side of Mahomes. Like, they did some weird stuff with their coverage sometimes, but for the most part, it was like, we're going to send our 4 guys, drop the other 7 back in coverage, and just let them do their job. Like, it's going to be a pretty simple task. So I feel like he had a good game plan, and the Buccaneers executed. And I said this in the show we did last week as well, is that Patrick Mahomes has made some bad decisions this year. Like, he's had some games where he's had multiple interceptions. He's made some ill-advised pass attempts, and we've seen that. Devin White had the interception. There was another interception in there. I forget who had it. It might have been Winfield, honestly. By the way, my favorite part of that game was Antoine Winfield, like, basically on the game-sealing play, doing the peace sign to Tyreek Hill's face. That was my favorite moment of this game. So that was awesome to see. I know he got the penalty and like he hurt his team, but like the game was over. I really didn't care. It was like kind of a worthless penalty, but I thought it was awesome because there was that picture of Tyreek Hill doing that same thing, and Antoine Winfield was running behind them back in like week, 12 or 13, whenever these guys played. So it was good to see him get his revenge on the the big spotlight. So I'm happy for that guy. I was a big Winfield fan, so it was good to see that. Would it be a smart move in a tight game? Absolutely not. But when it scores 31-9, you can probably do whatever the hell you want. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Tom Brady, what can't you say about the guy? Rob Gronkowski, they come back, and look, I mean, I'm sure Bill Belichick is not happy about what happened. I mean, I'm kind of interested to know in his heart. I mean, I don't know what he's going to say to the media if they ever talk about it, but do you think Bill Belichick is genuinely happy for Tom Brady, or is he like, this guy is going to make me look bad? I don't know what type of reaction Bill Belichick would have to that game, but I could see him being like, oh man, this is going to make me look bad. But at the same time, I feel like, I need to make a Patriots video at some point. I feel like that team needs to rebuild, but we'll talk about that in the future video. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Leave in the comments your reaction to this game. I want to see if I missed anything. I feel like we pretty much covered anything. Of course, the Buccaneers, they weren't that great on third down, honestly. Usually they are. They didn't have a lot of passing yards either. The Buccaneers weren't like this explosive offense in this game, but they did everything they had to do, and they did it at a very high level. And of course, the run game with Fournette, even Ronald Jones had a nice run in there at one point. I meant to bring this up. The one bad move the Buccaneers made in this game was when it was a 4th and 1 on basically the 1 yard line trying to score. And first off, I want to say good job by going for it. I made a video a couple weeks ago talking about these NFL head coaches in the playoffs making these cowardly decisions to kick these field goals when it's not necessary. You don't beat the Chiefs by kicking field goals. I was very happy to see them go for it. So they did a halfback dive up the middle, and they gave it to, I think it was Ronald Jones, who ran into somebody and got stopped at the inch line basically. But my correction in a way would be, why didn't you sneak the ball with Tom Brady? I know you're risking an injury in a way, but Tom Brady's sneak attempts usually work 90% of the time, maybe more. I don't know what his career average is with those, but Tom Brady gets sneaks all the time successfully. I know they were probably crowding the inside over the center, but still, Tom Brady always finds a way, I feel to get those yards when he needs it. So that was my one little correction for the Chiefs, or not the Chiefs, the Buccaneers in a way. But yeah, I mean, that was pretty much it. I mean, the Buccaneers pretty much played flawlessly outside of that one thing. And for the Chiefs defense, they had some pressure in the first half. They weren't getting to Brady much at all in the second half. He looked very comfortable in the second half, not rattled at all. So when you let Brady sit back there and have all day to throw, bad things will happen. And he had some really nice plays. Brady had that one awesome pass to Gronk over the middle when he kind of looked to the left, faked out Tyrann Mathieu with his eyes, then went back to Gronk over the middle. That play was awesome. So Tom Brady did a lot of manipulating and definitely took control of that game. And what can I say? The guy's the greatest. I mean, my team beat him twice in the Super Bowl, so I don't hate him. But, Tom Brady now has proven that, 7 out of the 10 games he's been to in the big game, as they call it. But I hate that, by the way. I don't know why they can't say Super Bowl, but the big game, Tom Brady has proven to be successful 7 out of 10 times. So he has been the best quarterback. And I don't want to say the most talented quarterback of all time, because that raises questions. I think Aaron Rodgers in my lifetime has been the most talented quarterback I've watched, but the most prestigious, the best legacy, the most accomplished, the best winner, all those things. Tom Brady has that. First ballot Hall of Famer, we all know that. But for him, it was nice to see him go to Tampa, a place where a lot of fans were doubting him, saying, oh, Tom Brady's washed up, he's done, especially after week 1 when they lost to the Saints by a lot. They were like, oh, Tom Brady, this is not going to work. And of course, Tom Brady does what he does and shuts up the critics and wins the Super Bowl for the 7th time. So yeah, that was cool to see. If you wanted the Chiefs, I'm sorry, but maybe next year. They still have a great future going forward. But yeah, 31-9 final score. Leave in the comments your reaction to that game. Hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you did, and I'll talk to you guys next time.